So the German brand is now part of the gigantic Stellantis Group, and the march towards electrification continues with the Mokka-e. Interestingly, the Mokka-e will share lots of its features like the motor and the battery with its siblings, like the Peugeot E2008. And there's still lots to talk about today, so let's get started. Welcome to the channel, my name is Martin Lee, and make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon so you never miss a show. Most of the footage and photos we've seen of the Mokka-e so far have been bold and two-tone in colour. No doubt you've seen shots of the car in its striking Mamba green colour. This latest version of the Mokka is a much more exciting model, not just because you can get it in an all-electric version, but because the styling has taken a leap forward also. From the side, we're seeing that lots of design features that are common on this segment of car lately appear. The wheel arches have black plastic trim that makes them appear larger, and that trim continues along the lower portion of the body of the car as well. The bottom portion of the doors pinch inwards, giving a sense of a higher ride position and a greater ground clearance. The lines where the doors meet the windows arch upwards at the C-pillar, and the roof line cuts downwards thanks to the two-tone colouring of the roof panel. It gives a more sleek look, we think. At the front, there's lots of different materials. It doesn't look busy, but there is a lot going on. The bottom third is a blend of the grille and black plastic trim that draws the eye upwards. The body colour here looks like it continues around the front, but it's punctured by a long and thin airtake on the Mokka. The lights, well, they look angular and a little blocky as opposed to some of the long, slim light bars that you must have seen on some recent EVs. The interior is a little more muted than the exterior, lots of piano black surfaces and dark materials. Flashes of faux carbon fibre give it a bit of personality, although you're not expecting a certain level of comfort, say, of an Audi e-tron. You do still get nice materials in the Mokka, arranged in a manner that you should be familiar with. There's a nice balance between traditional buttons and having a nice big screen to use. There are two screens in the Mokka-e, one a 10-inch display and the other a 7-inch display. Directly behind the steering wheel, you'll find all of the usual driving information. On the other screen, more of the infotainment functions and the general menu layout are displayed here. All in all, the design is going to appeal to a lot of people. It's being marketed as a more edgy, urban style of crossover SUV, and in that sense, we think it's a much more modern-looking Mokka, and it'll likely appeal to a different market than in the past. Let's see how sales pan out for them. So we were never expecting the Mokka-e to be a spacious executive car or a 7-seater carrying kids and buggies around, but looking at the dimensions, it's definitely more of a compact crossover in a kind of SUV style. At 1.75 metres wide and 4.15 metres long, you can park it around town easier than the likes of an e-tron or a Model Y. In terms of exterior size, think Hyundai Kona, give or take. 50mm is pretty much the same length, width and height. Although it's more than 200 kilograms lighter than an Kona Electric, which admittedly has a bigger battery and therefore a lot more range. In terms of internal space, the Mokka-e isn't great, but then again, this car was never going to be used as a minivan or a big S-Class Mercedes, let's face it. The boot is 350 litres, which will be plenty for your weekly shopping or throwing a few small luggage bags into. What about performance? Well, the Mokka isn't going to win any quarter-mile drag races, but having said that, it's no slouch either. It'll do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 62 miles an hour in 8.5 seconds. Let's face it, a car like this is mostly driven in a city or the extra-urban environment. It may well never in its lifetime actually do a standing sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. It's not exactly going to be used for drag racing. Instead, this is a car that'll be good for 0 to 50 kilometers an hour, doing the traffic light sprint, or maybe if you're merging into traffic between 40 and 70. For that, you can make use of the 100 kilowatt motor, plenty capable in this size car. That's 136 PS, torque of 260 newton meters. The speed is limited to 150 kilometers an hour, but there's still enough to max out the speed limit on pretty much most roads where you're watching this around the world. Now let's look at the batteries and what the Mokka-e has managed to stuff under that edgy exterior. Opel/Vauxhall have opted for a 216 cell 50 kilowatt hour battery, and you get access to 45 kilowatt hours of that overall pack. That's not bad at all for a car this size. Not as much as, say, a Hyundai Kona with the large battery option, 64 kilowatt hours usable in that, but a lot more than you'll get from something similar like the Mazda MX-30. That has a comparatively tiny 30 kilowatt hour usable battery. In terms of range, we have a WLTP range rating of 320 kilometers or 200 miles. Once again, that's pretty decent, and for a car that won't exactly be bought by travelling salespeople doing tens of thousands of motorway miles every year, this is a sweet spot for this car. Having said that, real-world range is not likely to be as high as the official figures. In good conditions, driving around town with care, you may well get around 400 kilometers. In winter, at motorway speeds, you can almost halve that, but that's the case for many EVs. We think in general this car is good for something around 250 or 300 kilometers for range in the real world. As for charging, the Mokka-e holds itself quite well. On an AC charger, it'll go up to 7.4 kilowatts, which would equate to something like 35 kilometers every hour of being plugged in. And the Mokka-e does well on DC fast charging. Not the biggest battery and not the fastest charging, but still you can expect to charge at just up to 100 kilowatts if you can find the chargers that can deliver that kind of power. There's plenty to top up the battery when stopping at the service station and grab a coffee or take a comfort break. So the Mokka-e is a modern, edgy, urban, compact crossover SUV that's trying to take its place in an increasingly competitive space. Now, anyone focused on range will probably stick with the very popular Kona or e-Niro, but they are more expensive. After that, though, the Mokka-e could hold its own against the likes of an E2008 or MX-30 or a Citroën EC4. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Now you've found out all about this car. We love to hear from people in the comments and keep the conversation going. If you're looking for a car in this segment at this price range, what do you think of the Mokka-e? Would it be this or a Kona or an e-Niro or something else? What do you think of its design? Is it stylish or quirky? Or just right for you? Well, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up down there so we know to make more just like it. And we'll see you on the next one.